As the ship sailed across the Mediterranean Sea, a violent storm arose. The winds howled, the waves crashed, and the ship was tossed like a toy in the raging waters. The sailors, terrified, cried out to their gods for help. Meanwhile, Jonah was fast asleep below deck. Once upon a time, in the ancient city of Joppa, there lived a man named Jonah. He was a prophet, chosen by God to deliver messages to his people. One day, God spoke to Jonah with a clear command: "Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against its wickedness. The people there have turned away from me, and they must be warned." But Nineveh was no ordinary city. It was the capital of the Assyrian Empire, a place known for its cruelty and sin. The thought of going there filled Jonah with fear. Why would God send me to such a dangerous place? He wondered. Instead of obeying, Jonah decided to run away. He boarded a ship headed in the opposite direction, toward Tarshish, as far from Nineveh as he could get. As the ship sailed across the Mediterranean Sea, a violent storm arose. The winds howled, the waves crashed, and the ship was tossed like a toy in the raging waters. The sailors, terrified, cried out to their gods for help. Meanwhile, Jonah was fast asleep below deck, trying to escape not just the storm, but the weight of his disobedience. The captain woke Jonah and demanded, "How can you sleep at a time like this? Pray to your God. Maybe he will save us." The sailors cast lots to determine who was responsible for the storm, and the lot fell on Jonah. "Who are you, and what have you done?" they asked. Jonah confessed, "I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the land. I am running from him, and this storm is my fault." The sailors were horrified. "What should we do to calm the storm?" they cried. Jonah knew what had to be done. "Throw me into the sea," he said. "Then the storm will stop, and you will be safe." Reluctantly, the sailors lifted Jonah and tossed him overboard. As soon as he hit the water, the storm ceased, and the sea grew calm. But Jonah's story was far from over. As he sank into the depths, a massive whale, sent by God, swallowed him whole. Inside the belly of the whale, Jonah found himself in complete darkness. For 3 days and 3 nights, he prayed and repented. He cried out to God, "In my distress, I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From the depths of the grave, I called for help, and you listened to my cry." God heard Jonah's prayer and commanded the whale to spit him out onto dry land. Grateful for a second chance, Jonah obeyed God's original command and went to Nineveh. He preached to the people, warning them of God's coming judgment. To his surprise, the people of Nineveh listened. They repented of their sins, from the greatest to the least, and God showed them mercy. Jonah learned a powerful lesson. You cannot run from God. His plans are greater than our fears, and his mercy is available to all who turn to him. Even when we make mistakes, God gives us second chances to fulfill his purpose. This story is a powerful reminder of God's mercy, forgiveness, and the importance of obedience. Lessons from Jonah's story. 1. You can't run from God. Jonah tried to flee God's presence, but Psalm 139, 7-10 reminds us, "Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence?" No matter how far we run, God is always there, calling us back to him. His plans for us are unstoppable, and his love is relentless. 2. God uses storms to redirect us. The storm in Jonah's life wasn't just a punishment, it was a tool to bring him back to God. Sometimes the challenges we face are God's way of getting our attention and redirecting our steps. 3. Second chances are God's specialty. Even after Jonah's disobedience, God gave him another opportunity to fulfill his mission. This reminds us that no matter how far we've strayed, God's mercy is always available. He is a God of second chances. 4. God's mercy is for everyone. Jonah struggled with the idea that God would show mercy to the Ninevites. But God's love isn't limited to a select few. It extends to all people, even those we might consider undeserving. This challenges us to examine our own hearts and ask, do I truly desire God's mercy for everyone? 5. Obedience brings blessing. When Jonah finally obeyed, an entire city was saved. Our obedience to God's calling can have far-reaching impacts, even if we can't see the full picture. Trusting God's plan, even when it's uncomfortable, leads to blessing. 6. God's ways are higher than ours. Jonah's story reminds us that God's thoughts and ways are beyond our understanding. Isaiah 55:8-9. Even when His plans don't make sense to us, we can trust that He is good and His purposes are perfect.